All right, Mr. Bass and Get Your Fish On, episode number 3.
Where'd you go?
We've actually survived 3 weeks, man. We're on fire. We're on fire. Yeah, we are. And we got a good show tonight. It's going to be fun. We want to thank everybody for joining us, for following us, and really would just ask each and every one of you to spread the word. If you like what you're seeing, you like what you hear, please share the love. We would greatly appreciate it. Please go to Steve's channel, Get Your Fish On, and subscribe to his channel. Hit the notification bell to find out when he's going to post the next video. And I'd appreciate the same. But thanks, everybody, for hopping on and joining us. We've got a pretty interesting topic tonight, especially if you're one of these aspiring fishermen who eat, breathe, drink, just everything about fishing, and you love fishing tournaments, and you want sponsorship. You want to be sponsored. You want some moolah, some money. Well, that's not always what sponsorship's about, but
Yeah.
we're going to talk about what sponsorship's really about. And I think we'll have a nice little conversation going in the chat room as well. And looks like we got quite a few hopping on. Simon, Kick Your Bass. Frank, James, Matthew, the Little B, Dean. How you guys doing tonight? So one good thing about this topic, Steve, is you've got tons of experience in related to this. And this is one of the reasons, guys, I've partnered up with Steve, because of his experience in the industry. And he's been dealing with sponsors his entire career. And he's been working out sponsorship deals back in the days when I was just a fisherman, and that's all I did. So I've got some experience with it, but he's got lots of experience with it. And we're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Mm-hmm.
And it should be fun and hopefully informative. What's up, Chris? I haven't seen you on in a while.
Yeah, I think sponsorship is one of those things. If you're an aspiring professional angler, it's one of those things that you kind of got to have. But there's a lot of people that are on, and I mean no disrespect to TikTok, that love to mouth lyrics and other things like that and sing and do that crap that I can't do, obviously, that think that they are, because someone gives them something for free, that they are a pro staff person, but they're a promotional staff person more than anything. And that's
Right.
that's really the biggest difference in how you get here, how you do things. So at
Speaking
one
of
point,
TikTok, you can follow Mr. Bass on TikTok at Mr. Bass TV.
I'm gonna make Thomas follow you, by the way.
I'm not doing any singing or dancing.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, thank God. You're not kidding. But yeah, that is for sure. But
yeah,
this is something, I fish tournaments, and, from day one, you see, like, for example, I can remember when I first joined a bass club, and brand new, I was really didn't know much about tournament fishing or anything. And we show up the first tournament, and all the guys in the club have these jerseys. And I'm looking around and like, wow, look at all these jerseys and then I started to realize, wait a minute, they're all identical. And then I was like, oh, okay, this is a club jersey, and all of the sponsor stuff on their jerseys were all the same, and they were basically just club sponsors, people who sponsor the club. None of the guys in the club were really getting any money from anything on their jersey. And but I am automatically started thinking, hey, I need to figure this deal out. What is this about?
Mm-hmm.
Booster C Patch Pirates.
Patch Pirates is right on. It's fun. It's funny to look at it, but really I get a lot of enjoyment out of it. I'll be honest. Because to get a sponsor and to continue to have that sponsor is something that takes a lot of time and a lot of effort just to not only to get them to join you, but also to keep them. And there's lots of things that a lot of anglers do that are great, and there's a lot of things that anglers do that aren't great. And I've been able to see it from the side of getting sponsors for the radio show and keeping sponsors with now doing what I'm doing now with the YouTube and other stuff. But also I've been able to see it from the other end as a small owner of a business of a that really we've went out and brought on 2 or 3 or 4 significant people in the industry. And it's what they make, what certain people make compared to other people is a drastic difference. I mean, a drastic difference. And it really has to do with how well not only do you sell yourself, but how well you do in those fishing tournaments. Because there's a lot, to be honest, there's a lot of people that have a great following on here, but they are in that, not really in that upper tier of anglers, and that has a lot to do with it. I mean, you and I have talked about it. How many there, other than the Guggen squad, there's people that when they see something we do, that they do go out and purchase it, which is great. And I know they do it with your channel, they do it with my channel, but we're just a small blip of what really changes the industry. and
Absolutely.
And YouTube is YouTube is a big influence these days for everybody. So
no doubt. Yeah, Matthew, I got mine today. Pretty sweet.
Kick your bass asks, so do you have to be a tournament angler to get sponsorship? You don't.
No, I mean, absolutely you don't.
If you have a YouTube channel or a podcast and those things, and you can show that there's people watching and listening, that you can reach out to those people. When you're at a stage where people at some point, and you're so big, people will come to you and say, look, I would like to sponsor what you're doing. But it's still you're going to find yourself probably doing more searching for those people than them coming to you. Because
exactly.
The industry is just right now there's so many tournament anglers all looking for the same thing. And I would imagine that most of them might be getting their tournament fees covered, but then the rest of it is on them. And even some of them aren't even getting their tournament fees covered. It's not an easy process to get a sponsorship, because it's all result. Go ahead.
And it's not really about catching fish either. Catching fish is a plus, I mean, it's great if you can catch fish. Obviously, you can check that box, but there's a lot of great fishermen who really, they don't know how to represent a company or their products very well at all. And so, from a business perspective, the owner of a business who has a limited marketing budget, they have to make tough decisions, and usually they're trying to maximize that advertising dollar as much as they can. So if they've got a choice between super dynamic Gerald Swindle or you, who actually happened to just win the last tournament, they're probably going with super dynamic Gerald Swindle. It's just, that's just kind of the reality of the economics of it oftentimes.
There's a lot of times when you're looking for sponsorships that results are how you finished is really the only success that they have, unless you're a humongous YouTuber, or having those extra stuff is very important, but not the end all be all. I mean, there's just a lot of people that, unfortunately, there's only so many dollars out there for the thousands of anglers that are going out there right now.
Kick your bass. A lot of these companies will ask for your tournament resume, though. They will ask for your fishing resume, and they like to know if you are involved in tournaments and kind of what your record is, what your involvement is, because exactly like Steve said, what else have they got to measure you off of? There's not a lot out there. So it definitely helps. I mean, it's definitely part of it. But, you know, there's a lot of things out there, and especially if you're young, aspiring, I would say, you know, I don't know where in our outline we were going to go with this, but I think you really need to be careful about chasing like the Patch Pirate idea, chasing sponsorships without really thinking about how it can help you as well. And you know, there are aggregators out there. I don't know what you call these companies that you can pay them money and they claim that they will go out and find you sponsors. And that stuff, you got to stay away from that. Don't get near that stuff, because you should never have to pay someone to get sponsored. I mean, do not do that. Do not fall for that. You know, there are some companies that part of their marketing plan is they might have 2 or 3 people that they actually compensate. And then what they do is they try to get 1,000 different guys on their pro staff, and they give you a discount on some product, but that's all you're ever going to get. And then they want you to buy their hats and their swag and wear it and go promote them. And most of the time that is not worth it. That is not worth your time or your energy. It's really not. And here's the other thing. Within the industry, we know who those companies are. So to see you wearing an XYZ, I'm sponsored by this XYZ company, it literally means nothing for you. It does not help you at all.
It actually hurts you.
Yeah, it hurts you in a lot of ways. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I interviewed Lefty Kreh, God rest his soul, the godfather of fly fishing. I don't know if you've ever heard of Lefty Kreh. Nope. He is arguably one of the greatest fly fishermen of all time. And Lefty had a great analogy for people that were pro staff, because anybody can go put a jersey on and say, you know, this person's covering me, you know. Mm-hmm. How he stated was, when there's three ways. Your first step is that you're pro staff, and you get a discount on that product. Right. I mean, that's what majority people are, and there's nothing. And let me just make sure I state this: there's nothing wrong with any of these. No. You know, when you've increased or gotten to the next level, when you get the product completely for free. Yep. That is how it is. Yes. And you reach the pinnacle when not only do you get the product for free, but they send you your retainer check every month. Yeah. So absolutely. where do all these guys fit in at this point? I don't know if you've ever been to a Bassmaster Classic. Mm-hmm. I have, yeah. Wall to wall. I'm going to say Fat Cat Newton, treetop tall. As far as the eye can see, people with jerseys on, and you know, yeah. XYZ. Yeah. And you're just like, whoa, holy cow. Where if this is the amount of people that have a sponsorship, the industry should be blowing up. We should have no issues with marketing dollars. All right. Because that's what you're competing for. As much as these guys are competing for money in tournaments, but they're all competing for marketing dollars that each one has. And unfortunately, the industry has gotten smaller and smaller and smaller for marketing dollars, because now there's so many anglers out there, but there's also all these social media and websites and YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and TikTok and all these things that now have an influence on if you will be sponsored or you will not be sponsored. Yeah,
I think the Googans are an extreme case of what social media can do to move product. Yes. it's insane the amount of product that has been sold because of those YouTubers.
Yes. And really, they're one of the few people that actually, when they put something out, they sell out. There's very few, unfortunately, there's very few of the top pros that if they come out with a lure, that people just stop and go crazy and go buy it. There's very few. I mean, the biggest person that does it is Bill Dance, and he doesn't even fish tournaments. We just all love Bill Dance, Daddy, as I call him.
Yeah, we do. I mean, I don't know who doesn't know him and doesn't. I mean, he's a household name.
Yeah.
And he's still sponsored by a lot of companies, even though he's, hasn't fished tournaments in eons.
Yeah. One of the nicest guys in the whole world, too.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is a pretty interesting topic. I thought one thing I might do is just kind of share with you guys an example of what a company looks for. And if you go on a lot of these endemic sponsors, and endemic meaning they sell fishing stuff, go to their website and you can usually find a tab on the website somewhere that says pro staff requests or things like that. And some of them are kind of vague and some of them are pretty blunt as to what they're looking for. And here's one that you can go and look up if you want. This is Venom Lures. They're a great company. I love their stuff. Not sponsored by them, but I love their product. And in fact, I just got an order from them today, actually. But if you go to their pro staff request, they tell you in about 2 succinct paragraphs what they're looking for. And I just thought it'd be worth sharing this. Venom Lures pro staff team is comprised of avid anglers who not only go out and catch big fish, but also represent our company in a friendly and professional manner. Pro staff members are expected to purchase $300 worth of gear per year, but they will receive a significant discount on their purchases. Then they say, also, let us know how you can help our brand among the fishing world. We encourage our pro staff to post regularly to various social media accounts, mentioning Venom Lures, sharing our posts, tagging us in fish pics or tournament pics, etc. Some folks even make YouTube videos showing off our products with gear reviews or fishing videos. Pro staff members receive a great discount on Venom products in return for their contributions. So we are asking what you can do for us. If you're serious about partnering up, let us know.
That's in all honesty, the hardest thing for me. This is actually kind of a hard subject for me, to be honest, because when we did the radio show, it was all about results on how to get people involved, like Shimano and Engel Coolers and all these people that have stuck with us. Or stuck with me at this point in time. Costa Sunglasses, all these people, and it's always, and I don't know Venom Lures. I do know Venom Lures, but I don't know that much about them. Yeah. But the problem I have with that statement is first, you're paying for their product. You're going to get a discount, which is perfectly fine. I understand that. But then you need to do. I don't think people realize how hard it is to go out and catch. Do they not know how hard it is to go out and catch big fish and film it and then edit it and then upload it and then also promote it too, and then also promote them? So it's, as you might think. I mean, you want to know why the Guggen's guys, and I mean, no disrespect to them, you want to know why the Guggen guys do so well, is they have a team behind them that films them, that edits them, that does everything. I mean, they're brilliant as is for what they did for marketing, on marketing, all this stuff. But
absolutely,
to have that group behind you and be able to do all these things really helps push out product and push out videos.
Sure.
You know it. I mean, we talked about this last week. You put out like 6 videos a week, dude.
Yeah, sometimes.
That's unbelievable.
It's crazy. It's so much work. It's really
It
hard.
is.
And I can't tell you how many times I've said to myself, I got these 6 cents Ned fries. I think I'll go out and I'll fish with these today and I'll make a video. And you go out and you don't get a single bite on them. Well, then you're like, holy crap, I waste all this time, fishing, getting my video ready and fishing with these things. No luck. And then that whole time, well, it's wasted as far as promotion goes.
Yeah. And you've done an intro and you've done an outro.
Yeah.
You've went fishing. You've done all you've hit all the things. So
yeah, you and I were talking about how companies will catch a fish and then they'll use the same fish and put different lures on it to take pictures of it. You might say, well, that's deceitful. Well, the product catches fish, but we don't have
the product we're talking about didn't catch fish.
Well, yeah, that one. We don't have time to fish for a week to get all these videos in. So we're gonna rig it. We're gonna stage it basically.
Yeah, and, I mean, I could tell that story. I just would have to eliminate the brand, which I don't even think the brand exists anymore, to be honest. But there's right. Yeah. There's lots of those things that go into making quality stuff. I mean, that's what it is. Guggen does great because of the team behind them, and they're brilliant at marketing. And to get a sponsorship of Guggen, you need to not only say, well, look, this is what I'm doing, and this is how I'm going to sell. But the problem that happens 99% of the time is you get this sponsorship, and these anglers, kind of just do mediocre.
Right.
And unless they're on TV and win, the lure or the rods or whatever never gets heard, and it doesn't help sell a product. Yeah. And then you want to know what? These days, I'll tell a story. Years ago, when I first met his friends, in all honesty, he had just spear fishing, and when I get into something, absolutely everything that's going on, how things work, this and that, and I was tunnel focused on trying to figure out how much money some of these guys were making on sponsors.
Yeah. And
we talked about, in the big case of some of these lure companies, they're looking at everything that you do. Everything. I mean, they're not right. It's not just what you say on stage. It's how you say it, your media presence. But when the camera is on you, are you really using their lures?
Yeah. Well, this is an interesting concept, because having all these camera boats on tour now hurts some sponsors, because you can see what the pros are throwing now, and this is, everybody kind of knows this is going on, but the pro fishermen are going to fish with what they know is going to work, whether they're sponsored by it or not. But then when they get to the ramp, they do a little video and they show, I caught it on this, and I caught it on this, and I caught it on this, and they didn't use that at all the whole tournament, but they got to push their product.
Yep.
It's getting harder and harder to do that now.
Yeah. It's in the case of going back to the story. I remember Patrick telling me he would watch that Pure Fishing would watch everything that was on TV for the anglers. Now, this was before Major League Fishing. This was only when Bass Elite existed. And if they were caught three times, three, you were done.
Yeah.
You had 3 strikes and you were out. And
so if they were caught misbehaving,
using someone else's lure. Yeah. If you're on a tournament and everyone's catching fish with square bills and you're not using a Pure Fishing square bill, you want to know what? You're SOL'd. It's how it works.
Yeah.
But there's very few of these guys that actually are able to push a product, because they're just not media savvy.
Yep,
You have
yep,
your
yep.
you have your Jacob Wheelers and Kevin Van Dams and Palahniuk and Swindle, the guys that have really great bubbly personalities. And I mean no
Yeah, they're
disrespect to
great.
any of the guys, but there's other guys that get on there and they are just dead. They're like,
Yeah,
you don't want to talk to them at all.
yeah, you're right.
And
And they may
that
have won
hurts
some of the biggest tournaments out there.
classics.
Yeah, classics even.
Yeah.
Uh,
So, you know,
yeah, interesting. That's a really interesting point there. Henry here was asking, what are some good companies to start with to try to get sponsorships? And Henry, we can give you some tips on that. One of the thing I would say is, Steve said it at the beginning of the show, which is they're not going to come looking for you until you really are doing something significant in the industry that gets you noticed. And so they're also bombarded with people trying to get anything free they can. Just every one of these companies' marketing departments is just completely inundated with people requesting, I want to be on your pro staff. I want to be on your pro staff. And, I kind of get it. If I'm in their shoes, I'm going to say, well, what can you do for me? What can you do for my business? Because there's just everybody and their brother wants it. So what I would recommend is spin that around and ask yourself, who out there can I help? Who out there could I possibly do something for them? And you maybe you start with a company that you really like or that you're impressed with. The way I got involved with Monster Bass, see the cool new hat, is I was subscribed to a lot of these boxes, and I felt like Monster Bass month after month gave me the best product. And I really, really was blown away with how well they were doing compared to the others. And I just thought, man, I got to get involved with these guys because I just think they have such an amazing product. Does it mean that I'm 100% in love with everything they do all the time? Absolutely not. In fact, think about the company you work for. How many times have you worked for the company that provides you your livelihood and they do something that makes you mad? They do something that you don't agree with. It doesn't mean you flush the whole company. You still have a duty, and you have an obligation to that company to do everything you can to help them be successful as well. And look, if you don't like their product, don't chase them. Don't go after them. And just like someone said on here that their sponsorship with somebody was about to end, if the company that you're working with, things happen. You may have to go your separate ways if they're unhappy with you or if you're unhappy with them. It's not necessarily a statement, good or bad, about that company or their product. But even if you find a company that you like and you want to pursue them, if they reject you, it doesn't mean that you can't have a relationship with them at some time in the future. You just got to continue to put out a good product and be consistent and be professional and try to be as authentic as you can as well.
I would say if you're going to get looking to get a sponsorship, you need to have your resume as perfect as possible. It needs to say your goals, what your where your plans are, how you're going to help them, and then unfortunately the results that you have in fishing and your social media stuff. You also at some point you need to be charismatic, and that doesn't mean you have to be Gerald Swindle, but you need to be able to talk to a camera or a microphone or a media person and have that give or take. The other thing is, it's a really good idea to go after not only when you're going after sponsors and you get a sponsor, but to go out and do the extra work and try to introduce yourself to other media platforms. I think that's one of the things that's missing these days, is that there's a lot of guys that just think, well, I'll just jump in, I'll start doing a YouTube channel, blah, blah, blah. But it's really hard. as we can tell, it's really hard to get that subscription base up unless you
Yeah.
do something that is drastically clickbaitable. And
Right.
you
Right.
need to be reputable in the industry, but you also have to have confidence in that sponsor that you have. It doesn't help if you go if you know you're out there and you have a sponsor and you're like, I like them, but I don't really like them that much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you don't want that.
Yeah, you got to have that confidence in everything that they do, and
Yep.
it's really important to do that. I mean, it's as important as social media right now.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. And I've heard from a lot of these companies how frustrated they get by the fact that people want a lot from them, and they don't have that resume, and they don't have anything that they can provide. I would hate to be a marketing person that would have to deal with that kind of stuff all day, every day. I don't know how they do it, actually.
I do marketing crap all day.
Yeah, I know it.
I mean, it's ridiculous how much crap I do. So years ago, I can't say the person's name. I did someone's resume that was a saltwater fisherman, and he has he was doing television and so forth. And his main title sponsorship was $500,000. And I can tell you he sold 4 or 5 of them the year I did his resume.
Wow.
But
that's something.
We had, and no lie, we had 250 pages of stats on what he had done and where he was and how he was promoting this that helped him here, here, and here, and here. And we could show all the stats, and we could hand this out we were handing it out to people, and it was instantaneous. I'm in. Oh, I know you have this title sponsorship, and then you have this tier. I'm in for $250. And that's not $250. It's $1,000. And it was all because he had all of it A to Z written down perfectly. I just made it look good. That's all I did.
Yeah.
And it's really hard these days. I mean, some of these anglers, some of these bass anglers, retainer for like a rod company might be $200 a month. They might get 20 rods and $200 a month. And that really isn't that much.
I was fishing with a pro angler on a BASS Open a year or two ago, and I asked him that question. I said, because he's one of these guys. He's very well known. You'd know him instantly if I told you his name. He's been around for many, many years on the BASS circuit, and now he's over on the MLF side. But I just asked him, what's the sponsorship market like now compared to when it was when you started, and how's it kind of evolved through the whole deal? And he said you just wouldn't believe it. He said back in the days when I started, which was the Red Man series and some of those circuits, he said many of us, January 1st, you'd get $100,000 check or a $200,000 check. He said I'll bet you I had 4 or 5 companies that right at the January 1st, I would get $200,000. And he gave me the names of some of those companies. And he said, I didn't realize how awesome it was back then, but he said, it just was amazing.
That doesn't happen anymore.
He said, that is not the way it works now. And he was very frustrated because he's an incredible angler, and he's won tournaments, and he's done very well. And he said, the thing that frustrates me is a lot of sponsorship dollars are going to brand new kids on the circuit who have no real resume, but they do know electronics, or they do know how to market themselves. And he said, it frustrates me that I've been in this thing 20 plus years, 25 years or whatever, and I got to fight for every dollar, and I got to fight against brand new kids who haven't proven anything in the business yet.
There's a lot of stuff in the business is what have you done for me lately?
Yeah, exactly.
And no offense to the older anglers, but there's a new breed of cowboy coming in, and not only do they fish well, they do all the social media well. They offer more to that prospective sponsor, and there's a lot to be said by that. Now, boat sponsorship's completely different. That one is really a crazy thing.
The boat sponsorship?
Yeah, boat sponsorship.
Yeah, why don't you tell them how that works?
Boat sponsorships these days you're given a boat for a year, and it's called somewhat memo billing, I guess is the best way to put it. At the end of the year, you have to sell that boat and you get a new one.
Yeah.
Now you sell it for a discounted price. It still gives the manufacturer that money back, and they still make money on the boat, but that's still one boat sold.
Right.
So, but you still have to have the results, and really, if you don't sell the boat at the end of the year, you have to pay for the boat.
Yeah, right.
So,
that's right.
There's a lot of anglers that shell out a lot of money to become a pro angler. I mean, I did a video called The Drive with Jason Christie, and it was our ride home after one day on the Classic. And in it, I said, how hard is it to get sponsors? And he said, it's tough, but doing fishing is a good way to make a great living for your family. However, this was Jason Christie, who was the #1 angler in the country at the time.
Yeah, yeah.
Not everybody has that drive that Jason has, or I'm not saying all of them can't fish, because let's be honest, they all can outfish all of us most of the time.
Yes.
They don't have the results, or there's a little flaws in their repertoire of fishing. A perfect example is 90% of the bass anglers hate Florida. They hate it because we don't have deep water. You can't use deep water crankbaits. You can't use all these things. We have weeds beyond weeds and weeds, and it's hot as hell down here. Not right now, but I mean in the middle of the summer.
Yes.
So most of those guys just don't like coming down here to fish, and that has a huge influence on how things work. If you're not successful in the southern states, you're not going to be successful overall. But that has really, I mean, that doesn't really go with our topic right now. But there's a lot of anglers that sell their house to pay for their fishing because they don't have that sponsorship. And
in fact,
go ahead.
In fact, this is another thing I've learned fishing as a co-angler on the opens and the FLW. I am just blown away with how many young guys that want to be pro anglers are just maxed out to the hilt on credit cards and everything else. They go out and buy a brand new boat. They don't have a sponsorship on the boat. They buy they drop tons of money on rods, reels, equipment,
$12,000 on electronics.
Yeah, electronics. Then all of the tournament fees, the entire deal. And I can just remember this one kid just sticks out. I was fishing the Arkansas River. Nice kid. I asked him, "So what do you do for a living?" He said, "Well, I work in a factory right now, but I'm trying to become a pro fisherman." And he had a brand new Skeeter, and he had brand new everything. And I was just thinking, this poor kid he doesn't have 2 nickels to rub together in sponsorship money. And he's spending himself into oblivion to hopefully make it. And there are so many guys that are doing this right now. And I just don't do that. If you can figure out any way obviously I can't say don't follow your dream, don't chase your passion. If that's what you want, do it. But don't go into debt to the point that, it just kills you.
You got to be smart about it.
You've got to be smart about it.
If you're going to start off and do it, the sponsorship is the side you need to start off with, because at some point in time, you can't just, there's so many people that just get rid of everything and dive right into this. And some of them make it, but a lot of them don't. There's a lot of anglers in these leagues, maybe not Major League Fishing, or maybe even some of the elite guys even too, the bottom 50, whatever it is. They're not making their money back every year. They're really hoping for a one big hit. It isn't just so if you really look at it, it's not only the boat sponsor, the boat stuff, and the lures and everything else that you got. If you have $3,800 into a tournament, and then you have your gas and your hotel fees and all that stuff, food and all that stuff for a week.
Yes.
Now most of these guys like pair up and become partners, and they get a hotel room, so it's half
share expenses.
Share expensive, which really helps. But there's other people. For years, Brandon Palaniuk slept in the back of his Toyota truck.
That's right, he did.
And there's more stories like that. Now Brandon Palaniuk is an elite angler, and he knows his ups and downs. But what Brandon has done is not only has he done well on the social media side, but Brandon is just you can talk to Brandon. You can
absolutely.
He's media savvy. I've said it a million times. Every time I see Jacob Wheeler, I'm almost dumbfounded by just how smart that young man is.
Yeah. He's amazing, isn't he?
He can talk to you and explain things on how to fish and become a better angler, and you're just like, wow. I can see why people gravitate towards him and do a sponsorship with him, because he's just that savvy. We're talking about sponsorships here, and at some point, everybody's wants to be successful in fishing. You need to have sponsors, and it's not only boat sponsors, it's lure sponsors, it's rods and reels. This is, as crazy as this is going to sound, this is a very expensive thing to get into as a professional.
Think about this. This is an interesting question here about Scott Martin, and we could answer it, but it would just be pure speculation. But this is the only sport that I am aware of where you actually have to pay to play.
Yes.
You have to pay to compete. I mean, think how crazy that is. There's no other, I don't think there is any other sport out there that you actually think about. NFL players had to actually pay to play the game. I mean, it's amazing what these guys have to spend just to compete.
Think about it. Really think about it. Major League Fishing, I think, is probably like $2,000. It used to be nothing. I think it's like $2,000. I don't know exactly. I think bass is $5,000, the elites, but then they're
talking per tournament.
Per tournament, then they get $2,500 back. So let's just say it's $2,500 a tournament. And then you have NPFL, which is $5,000 a tournament. You have the Opens, which are $1,800 or $1,900 a tournament.
Yeah,
it is not. And really, if you look at the fees versus what you win, that's when things really get a little bit lopsided. A little bit. To spend $5,000 to win $50,000, I mean, that's 50 load of money.
Yeah.
But imagine you can qualify for the elites and you $2,500 and win $100,000, or you spend a couple $1,000s on Major League Fishing and you win $100,000 too. And then when you get to the Opens and Major League Fish, the Big Five or whatever it is, then it's really even crazier because you spend $1,800 to hopefully win $35,000, $36,000. So sponsorship is a huge part of being successful as an angler, because not only does it cover your costs for the fishing tournaments, but it also covers the costs of your extra stuff, your hotels, all that stuff. So there actually, Jim said that, imagine mortgaging your house. There's an angler, I don't know his name. He won Rookie of the Year 2 years or 3 years ago. He mortgaged his house because it was his dream to be on the elites. And luckily, he did unbelievably well. But imagine mortgaging it up with your family and all that other stuff. I do believe that the way that things are going with bass fishing is that it's a young man's sport, unfortunately, that are kind of single. Yep. I know that sounds crazy, but
it's hard to raise a family and do it at the same time. You're on the road, man. You're on the road constantly. So you see some anglers take their families with them, but it's still a huge sacrifice.
So
for sure,
this year we had Lunkers TV decided he was going to go into tournament fishing.
That's right.
And good for him. My hat is off for him doing it. Do I think it was the right decision? Hell no. I don't think it was the right decision.
Yep.
But he's one of those few people that has that Guggen money.
That's right.
Where it isn't a big deal. But I mean, he's been 5 or 6 tournaments and he's only cashed in one event. And while I commend him for making this decision and doing it, well, I think I read or I watched another podcast, and he said one of the things that made him do it was people thought that the Guggen guys couldn't succeed. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but if you're only cashing one every 5 times, you're not succeeding.
Yeah,
you're losing money in that case. You are losing money, and that I'm not trying to be mean or anything. And I think hopefully he does better, but he's going to try it for 2 years, I think, and it is a commitment that you need to put everything into. And
trying to do it part-time is very difficult, extremely difficult. And my hats are off to these guys that fish the opens and those format tournaments, because almost every one of them has a job. They got some other side gig that they're doing to support themselves. And it's amazing that they do as well as they do when they have such little time to actually focus on it.
Yeah. It's because we're talking about sponsorships. From the radio standpoint, we were constantly trying to push the bar on where we were going, how we were doing the show. You got to kind of, and I have people that constantly tell me, man, I miss it. And I apologize that we're not doing it, but I can't do it anymore. That's the God's honest truth. The amount of time but getting sponsorship, it was really, really, really a challenge. There were some people at the beginning that stuck with us. And then as we started to grow and started to be able to show the amount of people that were downloading the podcast on iTunes, that people started coming to us, the Yamahas, those people started coming. But it wasn't, it was 5 or 6 years into doing it before it became somewhat successful. And, it's.
What's up, Topwater Johnny?
Yeah, it's my boy. I'm going fishing with Topwater Johnny in the morning.
Yeah.
So it's
why I'm reducing a lot. I'm really cutting down on the number of tournaments I fish, and I'm not a professional tournament fisherman. I just like to do it for fun. But doing something like focus on a YouTube channel takes up so much time and energy and effort. I just don't have the time now to fish the tournaments like I'd like to. And
if you don't mind me asking, is it a competitive thing that makes you want to fish tournaments, or is it you just like what is your motivation to do tournaments?
Well, the main reason I got into it, which was I don't know, maybe 15 years ago, was maybe it was only 10, 12 years ago. But I had 2 reasons. One, I wanted to become a better fisherman, and I felt like fishing on the back of the boat behind some guys who were much better than me would be a good way to learn. And then the second reason I wanted to do it is I had all kinds of lakes and water fisheries that I was intrigued and wanted to go see and experience, but I didn't want to drive my boat all the way up to upstate New York and try to figure it all out when I only had 3 days to do it, or a week at the most to do it. To me, it felt like this is the best way to experience these fisheries. I pay $500, go fish a tournament, and literally, if you make the cut, you can fish 3 solid days with a pro that hopefully knows the water pretty well, and at a minimum 2 days, and then you can get a few practice days in as well. And that's really been my motivation. It wasn't about trying to get to the next level or anything like that, because I'm at an age, like you said, it's more of a young man sport. I had wife, kids, family obligations, a major career going on, but I wanted to experience these waterways, and I've been able to. I've gone to the California Delta and fished there. I've fished Champlain. I've fished St. Clair. I fished the St. Lawrence River. I've fished Guntersville and Pickwick and Kentucky Lake, and all these places that I've been able to experience because of the tournament fishing. Is really why I did it. And then the other thing that I really didn't realize what happened is when you really start fishing in a tournament and you start actually competing, it's not about the checks, but it's about, man, I made the top 10, or man, I made the cut, I made the check line, everybody's, did you get a check? And there's something pretty energizing and fun about that. It's addictive in some ways. It's really gambling if you want to think about it. You show up, you all throw your money in a pot, and you go out and fish, and then they divvy up the winnings, and there's more losers than winners.
Mm-hmm.
Christopher Shue, thanks, buddy.
So just out of curiosity, how many checks did you cash? In how many events did you do, and how many times did you cash?
Oh, I don't even know. But I've probably cashed 10 checks, maybe.
Okay.
So you did pretty well. The best I've ever done is 10th place.
Okay.
So I haven't won. I haven't been in the top 3 or 4 or 5. I've made the top. It depends on what circuit you're in. It's either the top 10 or the top 12, and I've made the top 10 or 12 several times. And I was really getting much more competitive the last year that BASS really kind of stuck it to us. Where what they basically did is they took away the championship and they changed the format, and now they're not even letting you fish the final day. It's just frustrating. It's not about the co-anglers though. I know that. I've always known that. And to me, it's more about the fun and experience in the waters. But
so you said something very interesting, something I've said for years. If you're going to start off and try to become a professional angler, being a co-angler is extremely important, because you learn the ins and outs of what it takes day to day, what these anglers are doing. You not only learn the waters for a less expensive price, but you get to meet them, and then you get to have that camaraderie, and then you can find out if this is what you want to do. Because when it becomes time for money, and money is on the line, people act and do things differently.
Yes, they absolutely do.
And so in my case, I've had I went fishing with Brandon Card. Brandon stayed the weekend a long time ago over at the house before he got married. And so we were like, let's go fishing. So he and I went fishing, and he's like, why aren't you doing this? Why are you not trying to be professional? Honestly, Steve, you're doing better than me. And I'm like, you want to know why? I don't want to take the fun out of fishing for me, because I know that and I'll be honest, you haven't seen competitive Steve until you've seen competitive Steve on the water. I don't want to lose at anything that I do. That's the God's honest truth. I don't like losing.
I know what you mean.
So I don't want to take that fun away from one of the most enjoyable things that fishing. I mean, you can ask Johnny and Hank and other people who went fishing with me. That happens. I'm tunnel focused. Get out of my way. And I've had to not be like that when I go fishing with friends. Let's just go have fun.
Yeah, but you're right. you're right. When the money's on the line, it's hard not to. And you know, you're trying to win, so you need to be focused. I want to answer Christopher's question here, especially since he dropped his $5 on the super chat. Christopher, when I go to any piece of water, I already kind of have in my mind where I think the fish are, whether they're going to be, you know, pre-spawn, spawn, post-spawn, that kind of thing. And based on where you think the fish are, that's going to help you determine your technique. And normally I'm going to start with some kind of a search bait. I'm trying to find a fish, you know, first. So, and one of my favorite search baits is a chatterbait, a bladed jig. If I think they're going to bite it, I'm probably going to throw that first. That or a spinnerbait or a crankbait or just something that you can cover a lot of water with. And then once you start locating where the fish are at, then you can kind of dial it down and change up. So
you want to hear what I do?
Yes.
I put on a worm. It's the truth.
I love to fish with the worm too. I love to fish with the worm too. But if you got to cover lots of water to kind of figure out where they're at, that takes a long time.
Yeah, but I fish angles, so I'm always going down a bank.
Yes,
and fishing it back to me. And if I see some sort of structure or some sort of grass, especially, I find grass, I'm finding fish. That's for me down here.
It's all about the grass, huh?
Grass means fish. So do lily pads. I do agree with search baits, though. I don't think you can beat a chatterbait. That's the God's honest truth. I don't think there's very few lures I think that not only do they catch big fish, but a chatterbait does everything. I mean, it does.
And it's
fun.
All.
Well, you get a lot of strikes from reaction strikes because that blade is making so much, that back and forth of the blade and the clacking stimulates that lateral bass, and a bass won't. It doesn't even matter if they're hungry; they're going to attack it just because it's pissing them off.
Yeah.
So they'll just do a reaction strike and try to kill whatever it is. Because I like this thing. Jackhammer is the by far. Booster knows this.
Booster's throwing them away, man. Look at that. He's throwing away jackhammers and swim baits, and he said he only caught one fish. Boy, that's painful.
Yeah, he's been over the house. Next time he comes over, I'll slip a few to him so he doesn't lose any more.
Right on. All right, what are we gonna hit next here? Let's look at my notes. Some of the things I wrote down here.
Well, I want to talk about one thing that isn't fishing oriented.
Uh-oh.
Have you seen this craziness with this Logan? I need Thomas, and he's sleeping. This Floyd Mayweather, Logan, Jake Paul. Do you see?
Heck
yeah. Have you kept up with this?
Well, I don't even follow boxing that much, and I've definitely heard about it. I do listen to a lot of sports talk radio, and there's a lot of people talking about it. And the dude's a marketing genius. I'm telling you, he's a dude that could have been a Guggen. He could have been a Guggen easily.
I think he knows what Guggen could do.
Yeah, he knows how to promote. Like, man, he's amazing.
Is there any way in hell that this guy beats Floyd Mayweather?
I don't know. I know you said there's absolutely no way. I actually listened to Jim Rohn the other day, and Jim Rohn, if you're listening to national sportscasters, he is a fanatic about boxing and MMA and any kind of fighting. You'll get more fighting coverage on his channel than you will probably anybody's. And he really thinks that he's got a chance. And that surprised me because he had some expert on there who was saying, look, this guy doesn't have a chance at all. Mayweather's going to kill him. And Romy was saying, I wouldn't count him out. He said, I really think he is much more talented than you might believe. So I don't know. I'm not expert. You get out of the realm of fishing, and my expertise goes in the tank real quick.
I have watched more shorts with Thomas, it's my son, on this fight than anything in my life.
That is crazy.
There are so many people weighing in on it, you know, either one side or the other, or it's Jake. But it makes me, it's like talking basketball to me. So I grew up a basketball and baseball player. I mean, to be honest, I watch too much basketball. That's the God's honest truth. I watch too much basketball. It's basketball and fishing are like this. However, lately, all I've been watching is the fight coverage. But I'm a real sports fan. The thing that has me crazy about this is not only the publicity that they do and the whole gotcha hat crap and, you know, untying each other's shoes and all the stuff that comes with this, but Floyd Mayweather is the greatest defensive fighter of all time. I mean, there's times when he goes fight and you only get 10 or 12 hits on him for the whole time. And I know it is. I guess it is Logan Paul. I know Logan is much younger, and from what I understand, he's like got to be like 12 or 14 inches taller than him, and that means he's going to have a longer reach and all that other stuff. And it only takes one hit, and you know, you one lucky hit, and you're done. But this is Floyd Mayweather, man. It's like, the perfect analogy is Kevin Van Dam against me in fishing. Who's going to win this?
You'd crush him. You'd crush him, Steve. Come on.
I'm texting him that later tonight. But the stuff that's going on with this fight, it's gonna be $50-60 million of revenue to Floyd Mayweather for 7 rounds. And I mean, in all honesty, he has more to lose than anybody. He loses this thing. I mean, he's undefeated. Imagine losing it to a guy who has, no offense, is not a professional fighter. He might look good against
$60 million, Bill?
What's that?
Did you say $60 million?
I think they might. They're projecting to be 60 to 100 million.
That's insanity. I mean, hey,
you know, Roger said.
I think he might be really smart doing it, actually.
So, Roger Hall said, actually, he's fought a few good fighters. Mayweather is all hype. So I want to know what fighters. I mean, is the basketball player he beat up a fighter? Is the MMA guy that's been out of it for like 25 years and came in just barely better shape than my fat ass? Is that guy really? Is he really an MMA person is able to kick and grapple and all that other stuff? They're not fighters. They're not boxers.
Yeah, they're not boxers.
And whoever he beat, did he beat KSI or somebody? I mean, that's a real fighter. Floyd Mayweather's arguably the greatest fighter that's ever lived.
Well, I think there's a lot of people who agree with you there. If you follow the commentators, but there's also the flip side, like my wife saying Logan Paul's 20 years younger.
Was that your wife that said it?
I got no idea where she's coming up with that. She does not know the first thing about fighting. Not ever. And not, I mean, hey, I can't believe she even knows this. This shows you how well Logan Paul is marketing himself.
Exactly.
You know? This is just a perfect example. It's amazing.
Is younger better?
I don't know. I guess it depends. You know,
Heather, I want to know that answer before we log out.
That's a good question, guys. Is younger better? I mean, you know, if you take it in the fishing world, we used to think no. But these young kids, man, they're kicking butt.
Yeah. Oh, my nephew Callan's on here. Callan plays as my nephew.
Sweet.
Yeah. You should see that kid fish, man. That kid can fish.
Look at Jim's comment there for you, Steve.
I'm gonna text Kevin later.
It only takes one lucky punch, Steve. One lucky punch is all it takes.
It is. It's just, well, I was talking about if you put Kevin Van Dam against me in fishing, that was an analogy I was trying to go for. Do you really think I've been on the boat with Kevin? I'm not beating him. I can promise you that. I have been on the boat with that man, and he is one of 3 people I honestly believe. Literally, I got off the boat and went, I have been doing things all wrong for years.
Yeah. I felt that way. I felt that way after fishing with, or I didn't fish with him, but I was a marshal with Brandon Polinick. I was like, dude, this guy's good. This guy is very, very good.
And just so you know, younger is better. Your wife says.
That's right. That's what she says. Younger is better. You know what though? I have fished with some pros that just have not impressed me at all, and really? I can't say I even have the right to judge them. What I would have to say is that they probably were just having a bad day the day I was with them. You know, the one thing I will say, every single one of them I've ever fished with, whether it's been as a co-angler or as a marshal, they are intense. They are focused. They fish at a pace so much faster than you can even imagine if you've never been around it. Mm-hmm. And watching it on TV, I don't think shows it. It's hard to get that, to understand that. But they don't waste a second, you know. They really don't. They are just go. And it's about, you know, time, having that lure in the water is maximize that time.
If I can go back to something that we didn't talk about, sponsorships. One of the things that, if you move into becoming a professional angler and that's the goal that you're trying to be, and you're doing sponsorships, one of the things you need to be able to do is you need to be able to, when the camera's on you, you need to be able to communicate exactly not only what you're doing, what you're looking for, how you're fishing, and what you're fishing with.
Yes.
There's too many guys that get that camera behind them and they're turned to the back, and you get to see their ass and everything else that's on the back of their shirt, but they cannot communicate on what they're doing. And because of that, sponsors look at that and go, this guy has a perfect opportunity to tell me everything that's going on right now. But he isn't.
Yeah. Yeah, I've noticed that even with the big guys. You know, I think sometimes they're so used to it that they say there's no need for me to mention the type of reel that I'm using at the moment. I've always been amazed at how often they'll just say something. I use a 6:2 to 1 gear ratio reel.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you talk about the company that's actually paying for the reels? You know, for you, because. That's what it's about. That's what it's all about, really.
So I think that someone that I have a lot of talks with, and I think is a confidant, not only a confidant, but a friend, and someone I really enjoy talking to, is Bobby Lane. Bobby Lane is perfect when he starts on live, because it's always, I'm using this reel, I'm using this rod, this is how I'm doing it. I've got this 20-pound fluoro, I got this, and this.
Yeah.
And when it's wonderful. Even when he does, as crazy as it sounds, and I'll be honest, I've completely edited it out before. He and I will start talking at the Classic or someplace else, and he's like, you know, I got to thank this, and this person. I'm like, dude, wait a minute, we're not getting. You've already yelled out every sponsor before I've even asked the question. But if you look at that, that's part of, if you're interested in becoming sponsored and becoming a pro, you need to look at the guys that do it real well. And as much as it's not cool to imitate them or emulate them, but there's certain guys that do it well, and because they do it well, they're not having problems with sponsors. Because a sponsorship technically is you're getting X amount of dollars every month to promote that person's product, that company's product.
Yep.
And it is a must for you to do. It's not only do you have to catch fish, you must do it. And you must go do their shows and iCast and all the other crap that comes with it. And there's you need to have, when you do become sponsored, you need to have it all written out exactly what your job is and what their job is. As much as it's great to give a handshake and go, yes, this is what I want to do and this is what we're going to do, you need to have it written down exactly A to Z, what they're going to give you and what you're going to do for them. Because if you don't, you're going to get screwed out of stuff. So
that's a good point there. I think maybe you should even talk a little bit more about that, about the fact that you probably ought to have a goal in mind. Yeah, you probably ought to have a plan on when you get in a relationship with a sponsor, how it's going to benefit you and what you're going to do to help to benefit them.
So when we were looking at, and when we were searching for sponsors, we would say to them, look, this is how many people listen to us every week on the radio show. Now it's look, I don't mind being honest about it. Now I say to Shimano, I say, look, this is how many people are watching the video every month. And there's a link back to Shimano, not like Shimano needs any help, but there's a link back to your website or whoever's website in the description in every video that I do. And while it doesn't seem like not every video am I showing a rod and a reel in the stuff that I do, but that link back to them is unbelievably important for the Google algorithm. Now, you might think it's just a link. It's nothing. It doesn't mean people are going and clicking on that link and going back to them. Some people do, some people don't. But that link actually promotes them and promotes them higher.
Right. In the whole SEO rankings.
Yes, there's all these little things. I can't even tell you. Now I can say that the Fishing Florida Radio website hasn't been updated in years. That's the truth. But these guys that are looking for sponsorship, one of the other first things you need to do is you need to hire a decent web designer. I know you think you can do it, and you can do it in some cases, some of it. But somebody who does it professionally can help you with WordPress or whatever you want to do and show you the little ins and outs is very important. And then updating that website and doing things on a regular basis shows that you're not only putting the effort forth on website stuff and the internet, but also then that all ties into social media stuff too. So it's just another thing. I've got like pages of notes. I'm not joking. Pages of notes on how people should go about sponsor stuff, because there's just it's not easy. It's not easy at all.
Yeah. And I think you've got to realize that anything worth having is worth working for. And that's the key. It's a lot of work. If you really want to have a successful sponsorship relationship, it's a lot of work.
You can pretty much plan on, you send out 100 emails or you meet 100 people, 100 shaking of hands. If you're really good at it and you have all your stuff in order, if you can get 4 or 5 of those people to even talk to you and sponsor you, then you're doing good. Now let me just say, here's a humongous tip for people looking for sponsors. This is not a handshake. Your hands out looking for something for free should be the first thing you don't do. The second thing, when you go to iCast or the Classic or something like that, that is not the time to say how great you are as a fisherman and how they are missing the boat on sponsoring you. Finding the right person and creating the relationship helps you down the line, so you know the right person to talk to.
Yeah.
Just because you will go to the Classic and you got your jersey on and you got 72,000 patches on of people that have given you a 10% discount, which blows my mind, doesn't mean that person who's at the Classic has the time right then to talk about why not they can sponsor you. There is a time and a place for that, and it isn't at a fishing show or a convention or anything else.
Yeah, they're there with a purpose, and you're just gonna tick them off if you're.
You want to know, you're not ticking them off. That's the God's honest truth. You go to iCast and you have your hand out and you're looking for free stuff. They remember that you're looking for free stuff and they forget you. So you're now in this group of all these people who are trying to, that they're just like, if you're not, they're just like, this guy, what is this guy going to offer me? He was looking for free crap. And one of the things about fishing sponsorship is getting free stuff is the easiest part of it.
Yeah, it is.
You can say, look, this is what I can do to help you. I'm not looking for hard-earned cash right now, but at some point we need to have that discussion if I'm meeting the goals that we set down.
Yep, for sure.
Because you can only get, and I'm living proof of this, you can only get so much free stuff.
Yeah, you're right. And then you kind of get this to this point where, okay, that's not an incentive anymore.
Exactly.
So you've got to figure out, what in the relationship, why do you want to get in a partnership with this company, and what do you want to achieve, and that's important. It's important. Because you can only have so many free baits. You can't fish. There's just take one pack of Cincos out and fish with Cincos all day, and you might go through all of them. But you can't, in an 8-hour day, you can't fish with 1,000 lures. You can't do it, even if you got 1,000.
I got a box that's behind me that I wish I could show.
Yeah.
And I love the company, but I'm like, why?
Yeah, why did you send me so many?
Why did you? Where do you think I'm going with this? Do you think I own a tackle store?
Yeah.
I mean,
I get you.
Some of it's crazy. I mean, honestly, some of it is really crazy. There's other people that I'm like, oh, thank you for sending me this, blah blah blah. I mean, I just got my Shimano stuff just the other day, and I'm like, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
But it's still.
Well, if you have a bunch of extra junk you don't want, send it my way, and I'll give it away as part of my Saturday night live streams.
I have
giveaways, a booster.
Yes, I'm just at that verge of 6,000, and I'm going to put out 20 different packages of lures, and each one's got like 2 lures and 2 or 3 hard lures and 2 or 3 plastic baits. It's like getting your own mystery tackle box or whatever it is. Not to the extent that you got, but it's a package of stuff.
Yeah, that was awesome. You ought to send something to old Jeff Jeter here. See what he says?
Oh yeah, thank you.
You bring a lot to the party. Great Ideas and Opinions just joined your channel.
I appreciate that, Jeff. Jeff can send me an email. I'll put him on the prize pack list.
All right, I'll put your email address up there for him.
Yeah, we have those. I think I can give away 3 or 4.
Right there, Jeff. There's his email. Send him an email, and he'll hook you up, man.
So we're kind of in agreement that even though your wife thinks we're younger is better. I mean, I don't know about that.
I think kind of like Gary said there, it's hard to discount experience.
Yeah.
And I think all things being equal, but we don't know how equal the match will be, really. We can assume that the youth may be an advantage, but the experience oftentimes is an advantage as well. So it'll be a fun and interesting fight to watch, won't it?
Now, I'm not purchasing whatever it costs. I can tell you that. I got much. Yeah. I'd just rather throw the money out the window.
Yeah.
Is there anybody on here that's going to pay whatever the $70 for the whatever it is?
Who's paying $70 or whatever it is to watch the fight?
I mean, if it's $10, are you paying $10 for it? If it's, I guess we should have looked that up, but I didn't look it up. I don't even know what the pay-per-view cost is.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Is anyone going to buy that?
Because I don't ever do that.
And if you are, why aren't you just buying more lures or something else?
So the little B says, how different are YouTube sponsors and tournament sponsors? Is there a difference?
So in my opinion, there is. I think you and I have talked about this. There is.
Yeah, we have.
There's a new focus on YouTube being a priority.
Yeah.
Tournament sponsors. I think if you're going after tournament sponsors, it's a lot more expensive. There's a lot more costs going into tournament stuff. Now,
yeah.
I mean, doing videos isn't easy. It isn't cheap either.
No.
Time alone into editing and trying to make stuff entertaining and that kind of stuff. There's a lot of time that goes into it. So I think YouTube sponsorship, I think at some point we're going to see the marketing start to go towards more YouTube stuff. I know a few years ago at the ASA conference, which is the American Sport Fishing Association, they kind of said to every company, if you weren't paying $85,000 for someone to film everything and put on YouTube, you were absolutely not going to make it.
Interesting. Well, I've been surprised just of my own viewers at how many of them really love fishing and watch fishing, but they don't pay attention to this pro circuits, the tournaments. And that's kind of surprised me. Now, I think there's still more that do than don't. Mm-hmm. But there's definitely a group of people who really are interested in fishing. They want to know more about fishing. They want to be involved in fishing, but they, for whatever reason, aren't following the tournament guys.
So I think that when Major League left, when the Major League fishermen anglers left and started their own tournament schedule.
Yeah.
I think that was the first time that we've seen a separation in everybody. You either liked bass or you liked Major League Fishing.
Yeah.
And the loyalty that has happened with bass is astronomical. I mean, bass is still king, but Major League Fishing has now, with the purchase of FLW and doing the things that they're doing, I can see Major League Fishing continuing to gain popularity. I mean, there's something to be said for the format that they're using.
Yep.
You have to remember it's meant to be a television show, not really so much a tournament, but there's something to be said. I know that if you would have asked me last year, I said point blank, I'm only watching the Bass Elites. And as a media person, I try to keep up with everything.
Yeah.
Truthfully, this year, I've watched more Major League Fishing than I have bass.
Well, I think what the Major League Fishing thing has done, though, is it has forced bass to really up their TV game. And right now, in probably the entire history of professional fishing, this is the absolute very best time to watch it. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's the very best. It's the very best coverage. There's the most exposure out there, and they've got camera boats all over the place now. You can literally watch, on the final days, you can watch every one of the top 10 guys or whoever it is. You can watch every aspect of the way they fish. It's kind of like what I said earlier, how interesting it is now. It's much harder for them to fake what they're fishing with. Mm-hmm. But that's, for us avid anglers, we like to see what they're fishing with. We want to see how they're catching them. And to see them do things kind of like what Wheeler did a while back, where he went out deep and started throwing that spinner bait out deep, and everybody else was doing other stuff completely different. Incredibly fascinating for me to watch him do that. That's one of the most exciting things to think about it, is when you see a tournament angler competing against all the other ones, and the vast majority of them are all doing the same thing. And then you got this one guy who's not, and he's just killing it. He's just crushing it. And sometimes it's the other way around. He's not catching anything. Yeah. But, there's no better time to watch professional fishing on TV, though. It's never been better, and because of what Major League Fishing has done, like them, hate them, whatever you want, it's made bass have to step up their game, and bass has stepped up their game. That's the truth. I mean, there's certain things about the bass
format, not the format, but the live coverage that I don't like. But there's also stuff about Major League Fishing that I don't like either.
Yep. Yep.
But the Major League Fishing, just for me, just because I know the anglers a little bit better on Major League Fishing, and the Major League Fishing anglers are a little bit more savvy about what they're doing and how to talk about it.
Yeah.
And it's something
I mean, that's hands down. I mean, that's the group that left BASS and went to Major League Fishing. I mean,
yeah, it was ridiculous.
They were the elites. There's no question about it.
Yeah. So
now it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun to see some of those MLF guys going back to BASS and dominating over there, and that's just making it more fun to watch, more entertaining. So I think both of them are fun to watch.
I'll be completely honest. I told Brandon Palaniuk he was crazy. I told him point blank.
He's proved you wrong.
Crazy. And my reasoning behind that was I just thought that if he didn't go to Major League Fishing, he was the face of bass. And I was looking at it as someone who was that, they lost all these people, and not to say anything against them and all those guys, but they lost all these people. And there was this young up and coming stud that, he could.
The prodigy, as Dave Mercer calls him.
Yeah. He could have slipped in there and continued what it is. And I think him going back to bass, and I know I'm not going to make many fans of this, I think it's a brilliant idea. And truthfully, I knew he was doing it. I knew it was the first day of the first event of Major League Fishing. I knew he was going back.
I agree with you. It was an incredibly smart move for him.
The thing that makes in this, we could have we should do a whole show on bass fishing tournaments, to be honest.
Yeah, we could.
One of the things about that makes that these guys go back and then they completely dominate when they go back. And unfortunately, I know I'm going to catch smack about this. It kind of shows where those other anglers that stayed, where they kind of were. I mean, would some of these guys win if Major League Fishing never existed? Think about that's. I have had this exact in depth for literally 5 hours talking to people about this at a time.
Yeah.
Would this person win if Major League Fishing didn't exist? And the answer is probably no. But these guys come back to bass and they completely, Palaniuk, Hackney, Christie, those guys have won. Palaniuk won 2 tournaments last year out of 7.
And he just won an Open. Yeah.
Hackney won. Christie comes back and wins. There's only 8 tournaments a year, and in the last 2 years, 4 or 5 of them have been won by old Major League Fishing anglers.
I know it. It's really, really amazing. In fact, not to belittle anyone, but I was fishing as a co-angler right around the time that the split and everything happened, and it was a few weeks past, and it was the time when BASS was frantically trying to fill their group of anglers.
Mm-hmm.
And all of these pros that I had been fishing with in the Opens now were getting invitations. And they were actually at the pre-meeting they had a photo booth set up, and they were literally taking professional photos of any pro that was interested in going over to the elites and for a promotional picture in case they decided yes they were going to go. And I was just blown away with the amount of guys that I knew that were being offered a chance to go fish, and they had never really been very competitive even in the Opens.
And they were offered, some of these guys were offered
no tournament fees.
No tournament fees and a bonus to sign up.
Yeah, yeah.
And in most cases, these guys, these guys made 20, 30, but there were 1 or 2 anglers that were supposedly offered 6+ figures to stay with bass, because Bass
Yeah,
was
interesting.
that worried about it. And I caught an immense amount of grief because I said, and I will stick to it, that when that change happened, I really felt like Bass was just down the drain. Because
Yeah,
where can you come back from this?
I
Now,
think
granted,
a lot of people did, and what they've proven, I've had conversations on the side about this too, is their brand is still the dominant brand in professional fishing, and they're still king of the hill. It is amazing to me how they have done a bang up job of holding it all together and keeping the product still a decent product, and a product that most people are still really interested in.
well, we found out, really, more importantly, that the Bass fans are the most loyal people on the face of the earth.
No doubt, they absolutely are.
And they made that decision right away. Look, we don't like Major League Fishing because these guys left us high and dry. And that isn't, when you really look at it, that wasn't the case. When you really dive into what happened with Major League Fishing and Bass, there were a lot of anglers that Bass screwed over.
Yeah.
That's the God's honest truth.
Yeah.
They had sponsors. These anglers had sponsors. And what Bass was doing is they were going over to this sponsor and saying, look, we can offer you more than this angler can. And the angler was losing money, still having to pay to fish, and was losing the sponsors. And these guys got pissed. And then they saw Major League Fishing and Boyd and Gary and the 10 or 13 guys that started it. They started to seeing, look, we can create this television show, and there will be more money for us than what we're getting at Bass. Even though we might lose a lot of sponsors and stuff like that, there is more money that we'll make. And really, as crazy as it sounds, and it sounds horrible, it was all about the Benjamins. And they decided to do that. Yep. And they most of these guys are going to live and die by this thing. Yeah. I mean, we all wanted to go back to Bass because how great would it be not to see Kevin Van Dam or Edwin Evers or Jacob Wheeler or Mark, I don't know his last name.
Mark Rose?
Yeah. No, Mark, I forgot his name. Or Dustin Connell or somebody like this go back to the leagues and win a classic.
Yeah.
And that would be unbelievable.
It would be. I got my eyes on Polinick for the classic. I think
Mark Daniels Jr. Thank you.
There you go. Yeah, Mark Daniels Jr. Yeah, Mark Daniels Jr. is another one that was really kind of riding really high over there in the BASS side.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think that, as crazy as it sounds, if you can qualify for the Classic is the easiest tournament for you to win.
Yeah, there's only 50 competitors, right?
Yeah, there's only 50 competitors. It's the easiest one for you to win. And then you have, no offense to some of the nation guys that win, but most of the nation guys that automatically qualify or win from an open, they don't generally do really well statistically.
Yeah.
It's these guys that know the lake or that's their home waters. Palaniuk will be great to be there. It'll be great to see Palaniuk do that. And oh man, what I wouldn't do for him to win, because I think the world of Brandon Palaniuk. I just think he's one of the good guys.
Super. He is super, for sure.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Well, that's not sponsorship talk, but it was fun. It was interesting.
Oh yeah, I got lots of opinions.
Yeah.
I'm full of those.
I do too. It's an interesting way to make a living for sure. You fish tournaments, but it's not the tournament winnings that really support you. You've got to have sponsors in order to actually make a living fishing. And it's very, very unique and interesting for sure.
Yeah. My boy Booster said Hartwell's a lousy lake for the Classic. Yeah, that was. I've been to the Hartwell Classic a couple of years. To be honest, Palaniuk didn't do well at Hartwell. I was on the boat with him that weekend. He did not do well that weekend. So hopefully, he was on the right bite, I think. But then it froze. That's the Palaniuk story for me. But I mean, he Christie will be real good. Christie's just Christie's one of the best anglers in the world. So
he's very good. Very, very good. Okay. What are we at here?
Okay, what's next? I had a list, but I have no idea where my list is. Oh. If I can just say one little thing, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
I had a friend pass yesterday.
Oh, man. Sorry to hear that.
Yeah. Was a television show, Chasing the Sun. He passed of COVID. He had complications with COVID and passed away. And it was a shock. It was really a shock. Chris Holloman was his name. And he was not really a close friend, but he was a guide, and he did a television show called Chasing the Sun. And we used to have him on the radio show all the time. And he just was he had COVID and had complications, and then had a heart attack and passed. And I just wanted to, I'm not sure his family will ever see this, but I just want him to know that my thoughts and prayers are out to him and him and his family. And I think there's some sort of GoFundMe or something I'm going to make sure I make a donation to or something like that. But just a really good dude and really a good angler. Just a really, really good angler. He was a saltwater guy. But he had a show up in the Panhandle and used to do stuff down in the Keys. And it was really kind of a shock, to be honest. I didn't even know he was battling COVID, to be honest. And that's really unfortunate.
Yeah, please on our condolences.
Yeah,
it is something when someone close to you passes away, and especially the COVID thing. I've had several close friendships pass from it, and it is shocking. It's very surprising when it happens.
Yeah, he had a nephew that lived very close that had asthma, a whole bunch of stuff, and he was really a vaccine, you guys, you got to go get vaccinated, blah, 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 blah. He was a proponent for doing everything he could because of his nephew. So for him to get it and then have complications and then, of course, have a heart attack because of it and pass was, like I said, it was really a shock to me. I have a group. So we have a group text for Tackle Webs. So it's Mike and Marcella and some other people. And when it happened yesterday, it was almost like, oh my gosh, at first I was like, is this really real? I mean, Chris was a young dude. And then we found out more information, and then it was like, holy cow, this is really horrible. And it's just like, you kind of wake up and go, oh gosh. So, if you want to, here's the best thing to do. Tell your friends you love them. I mean, it's not gay. Don't think it is. Just go out and tell them you're thinking of them and that you care about them, and do something like that tonight or tomorrow or whatever.
Right on. I love you, Steve.
I love you too, man. Okay. I have my list now. I found my list.
Okay, great.
Did I text you this list?
Nope.
Sorry. We need to talk about the top 10 because we're talking about sponsorships and professional anglers. I would really, and this is kind of throwing it out altogether, but I would love to hear what everyone else thinks. Who are your top 10 anglers of all time? I mean, does Kevin Van Dam make that list? That's
a great question. That is a great question.
I mean, it's kind of hard to just go off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But I mean, can we both agree Kevin Van Dam's on that list?
Yes, he's absolutely on my list.
Okay, does Mike Iaconelli make the list?
Well, top marketing anglers?
I should tell you, everything I do, Mike watches.
Yeah, I would say he is the He is at the very top of marketing.
Bill Dance.
The dude's amazing. The dude is absolutely amazing.
Yes. Bill Dance automatically makes it, right? And Roland Martin.
Of course, yeah. I would
Do
say
any YouTubers make it into this? No.
No way.
I mean, I love Scott. I think he's a good dude. Been on the boat with him. Can't say anything. Don't say anything at all. But Rick Clunn.
Rick's got to be up there. I mean, I think part of the problem is over time, memories fade, and you have every time a new younger generation comes in, whoever's getting the most attention today is who we think of. But man, people like some of these old timers, like Hank Parker, that people are putting up here. I mean, these guys absolutely dominated the sport. Rick Clunn, absolutely. So how could you exclude them? The problem is narrowing it down to 10. Yeah.
Does Jimmy Houston make that list?
Yeah. Does Jimmy Houston? I don't know. I mean, Jimmy Houston's incredibly well known. He's a super dynamic personality. He's one of the he's just an amazing person. And he's no slouch when it comes to fishing either.
No. I text him every week. Do you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, every week I text
yeah.
him.
How's his wife doing anyway?
I think she went home.
Oh, good.
That's what I was under the impression. I meant to text him today because today is Wednesday. Hold on, let me just see something. Oh, so yeah, I'm a few days off right now. Last time I texted him, he said, Chris is progressing well. We appreciate your players so much. God bless Jimmy. So yeah.
Theodore says Grigsby. I wouldn't say Shaw Grigsby personally, but he's definitely a person that everybody knows. He's definitely made an impact in the fishing industry.
So that's where you got to kind of, is it popularity or is it tournament results?
Yeah, because there's other guys. There's other guys that are just amazing sticks that you just don't see or hear them a lot.
Quite honestly, I would put Wheeler in the top 10.
Yeah, I think I would too. As much as he has dominated the last few years, I mean, he's unquestionably the top or one of the very top right now. There's no.
Yeah,
I don't know if there's a second to him.
I don't think there's any way you don't include him. I mean, what he's done in the amount of time, there's nobody tournament-wise statistically who's been more successful than Wheeler in like a 7-year, the first 7 years. I mean, Wheeler has been that good.
Yeah. I disagree with a lot of these on this that Matthew put up here, but I mean, I know who they are, and I know they've all made big contributions. They've definitely, but when you narrow it down to the top 10, that's where I think it gets really tough. Yeah, Walt says Jordan Lee's won 2 classics. He has.
I wouldn't put Jordan Lee on that list.
I wouldn't either. But
I mean, no disrespect to Jordan.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't put him on there.
I wouldn't either. But he's absolutely won 2 classics.
He's absolutely ridiculous.
He's an absolute stick.
And Hank put on there Aaron Martins. I'll be honest. I love Aaron Martins. I love you on the texts I send to him. I always write love Steve on every text I send to him, and he writes it back. Great dude. But I wouldn't put him in there either.
Yeah.
Now here's one. Walt put one person that I think is on that border, but I'm a massive Edwin Evers fan. Massive Edwin Evers. I think he fits all of it. And I think he's right on that border. But when you have that top 10, it's really hard to narrow down those ones. I think right off the bat, we have to admit Wheeler and KVD make it for sure.
Absolutely.
Without any doubt.
What about Larry Nixon? Greg says Larry Nixon.
Great tournament angler. I don't know if he makes the top 10.
I don't think he does.
I don't know.
But maybe he's 11. Maybe he's 11 or 12 or
Yeah, Bill Dance for sure, right?
Absolutely.
You have to have Bill Dance. I mean,
but you can go back to some of those old timers some of them that we don't even talk about now that probably could absolutely dominate today if they were fishing against these guys, and some couldn't. I mean, it was a totally different animal back then for sure.
Yes.
Just the electronics thing alone.
Well, do you know? I think you probably know this. The first Bass Elite tournaments, they didn't tell them where they were going.
Yeah,
They would
that's
put
right.
them on a plane and ship their asses someplace.
They took 10 pounds of tackle with them.
Yes,
and they all got in the same boats. And in fact, they said they had 2 guys to a boat.
Yes, I think that was when Major League Fishing started. I thought that with the Summit Cups, I thought that was one of the best things about Major League Fishing was that these guys really, really didn't know where they were going. I think I told this story. I don't know. I've said it a few times. So Major League Fishing came to the Harris chain years and years and years ago, like probably 5 or 6 years ago. I was the only media person to ever be invited to one of the cups. Now, not saying how big that non-disclosure was or how long it took me to read that damn thing or have to, but I got to go to that event and cover it. Now, by covering it means I couldn't film anything. I couldn't record. I couldn't do anything. All I could do was watch everything. But I wasn't allowed to talk about it for 8 months. I mean, I knew the winner before other than all the other anglers, before anybody else. And they had all these great guess the winner can win like $5,000. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm just going to tell one person who won. And I'm sharing the money. I'm sharing the money, baby. But they actually had, to show, because people started showing up at the launch and were able to find out what was going on. So they had a trophy presentation and they brought up 20 anglers and held up the thing. Each one held it up and you wouldn't know who won.
Oh man.
And it was absolutely, it was awesome. So I don't know where the hell that conversation went, but it was.
I don't either. But Jim's got a great comment. My top 10 seems to have about 20 names.
I mean,
yeah, mine does too. When you really start thinking about it.
I mean, Fisherman 83. That's my boy. Said Ott Defoe. I'll be honest. In terms of anglers who I've been fishing with, Ott Defoe's number 1 on my book. The best angler I've ever been with.
Really,
best angler. He did the skipping thing. That it was stupid. It wasn't even, he was skipping underneath the docks and stuff. And I kept, I'm showing off at this point and he and I are talking and having fun. And I'm, bragging I'm like patting myself on the back on about how great of a skipper I was, skipping a baits I was. And there was, and no lie, there was a crack that was exactly that big. And I said to him, "Oh, it'd be really cool to see if you could skip into that." And he went, and it went right through it. And I was like, and then I said, "Well, I could do that." He then did it with his left hand. He switched hands and skipped it into it. And I said, "Okay, now you're just showing off, you big jerk. Stop this. Let's just end this right now. You're a better skipper than I am." That's just how it is. Well, the best thing I've ever been on the boat with. Unbelievable.
Wow, that's cool. That's cool.
Okay. Is there any questions here we need to
I don't think so. I'm kind of going through them. That's a fun question, though. Who's the top 10 anglers? And I think, those are some other kind of shows we can do in the future.
Yeah.
About that kind of stuff, because everybody likes to speculate and talk about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you, going back to Ike and Ellie, I think he's one of the first ones you asked. What really impressed the heck out of me is to see somebody like Ike and Ellie, who has literally done everything in the tournament game. and he goes down to a Hobie BOS. Never fished a kayak tournament in his life before. I think it was on the Susquehanna River was his first tournament. He goes down there, hops in one of his Hobie sponsored boats, and he gets like 12th place. And I am telling you, there is it is a completely different dynamic, kayak fishing versus fishing bass tournaments in big bass boats.
Yeah.
There's a lot to it. You can be an incredible angler, and if you can't figure out how to handle a boat in a swift moving river, a little kayak in a swift moving river, and fish at the same time, man, I was just blown away. It just goes to show you what a versatile and talented angler he is. So is he in the top 10 or not? I don't know, but man, he could outfish most of us without any question, without even thinking about it.
But I mean, he left Major League Fishing, had an opportunity to go to bass, back to bass, and this year he isn't a tournament fisherman at all. I mean, I know personally that he had a date set, a time set, and said, I'm gonna retire at this time. And I mean, I can't go into it too much, but
does he need to fish tournaments for his career at this point? You know, I don't think he does. It's totally up to him, you know, obviously how he's going to run his career, but the dude's an incredible promoter. He's got probably one of the very top fishing podcasts out there. He's got the Bass U University. He's got his hands in so many different areas of this business. I mean, he does not need it. Now, maybe
but does he, I was going to actually, so today,
does he need it for his legacy? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. I was going to text him.
That's a good question. If he wants to be considered one of the top 10 anglers of all time, then, you know, maybe he needs to keep plugging away at it. But same thing, what's KVD got to prove at this point in his career? Not much, you know.
But there is something that he does need to prove, because he hasn't been that successful on the Major League Fishing tournament, and he's one of the owners. And there's these young guns who are coming after his legacy.
Well, if you base it on ownership, though, look at the other key owners. They don't do squat in the Major League Fishing tournaments either.
I know.
But they're the one they're capitalizing on it for sure. I mean, all the way to the bank. So, you know, why I'd love to be Boyd Duckett, you know. Heck,
there's 13 owners though.
Yeah. I don't care if I win another tournament ever the rest of my life.
Yeah, he's got have you ever met Boyd?
I've fished some tournaments that he's fished in, and, you know, bumped into him and said hi, but that's as far as it goes.
Boyd, you like him, you hate him, it doesn't matter. Boyd is really, really smart, dude. Boyd is
absolutely
borderline genius. I know people are not going to like that, because either you like Major League Fishing or you don't. Boyd is really that smart. He's looking at stuff 10 years from now.
Yeah.
What's going to happen in 10 years? He's making that plan ahead of time, where most people are just focused on what's happening now and hopefully that it works out for him. There's a lot more to be said on what he's doing, and he's open to trying new things, and in every aspect of his life he's been successful. So
no doubt. I mean, he was incredibly successful before he ever became a professional fisherman. And I think sometimes people overlook the fact he basically created an entire brand new tournament circuit from scratch. Now he's done some other smart things, like we know the whole, now that we're established, let's get FLW.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was smart for them as well. I wasn't happy about it, but
yeah,
it was a smart move on their part. And you're right, man. The dude's a businessman. Hands down, the guy knows how to run a business.
John wrote, Molex baits are becoming Boyd Duckett lures. He's right. But that isn't. It's kind of. It is that way, but it isn't. He actually purchased the rights to promote those lures here in the United States because Molex just wasn't doing a very good job. So, in the process of doing that, he wanted to rebrand them under his Boyd Duckett lures because, quite honestly, Molex lures are really damn good lures. I mean, really good lures.
I got one in one of the boxes here just the other day. The Super NATO baby. Super NATO.
Oh, I haven't seen that one. Is that a top water?
Yeah.
Wake bait? Oh, yeah.
Well, it's like a wake bait. It's like a little wake bait. I've never fished it either.
What did you get that one in?
Man, I get so many of these boxes. I don't even know. No.
I think that's an expensive bait.
It probably is.
Probably it's 12, 13 bucks.
Yeah, it probably is. Yeah, the Super NATO baby. It's got like a wake blade on it, and it's a soft-bodied bait with 2 hooks on it, like a hollow-bodied frog.
Yeah.
And then a single long tail on it.
Yeah, you got to trim that tail.
Yeah, right on.
I hate
Looks like an old Bill Dance topwater.
Yeah, that's one of the things that drives me crazy. I get these frogs, and they got like a 35-inch tail, and you're like, what the hell are they thinking with this thing?
I know it. For sure. For sure.
You know.
All right, we're about out of time here. Couple more minutes.
Okay, any questions? Any questions? What do we need to do here?
Let's see. Anybody got anything?
Virgil Ward. Okay.
Virgil Ward.
Yeah. There's been a frog fur. Have you used that frog just out of curiosity yet?
I just got it last week.
Okay.
Man, did you miss it? You weren't on last week.
So this weekend
we had the funnest time talking about frog fur. And basically that is my new tagline for gimmick lure. Is that frog fur or what? And but I'm holding out. Here's frog fur. Here's a major frog fur lure we had a ton of time talking about last week. Look at this, new for 2007, the Norman Lures Combine. This, you want to talk about frog fur?
Okay, hold on a second. Did you get that in a subscription box?
I don't know. I don't remember. I think I probably got this in one of the lucky boxes.
It says new for 2007.
I know it. This thing is hilarious. I know it. It's crazy. It's ridiculous.
I would just like to say, if you got that in a subscription tackle box, that box is complete crap, and that's overstock. Because there's no way in hell someone's sending that out.
It probably came in a Warriors box or a Lucky box, one of those. But who knows? I don't remember where I got it. But
I'm going to tell you right now, that boom boom frog, you're gonna bite your tongue on that one. That's a freaking good frog.
Here's the box for it. I got the frog. I already got the frog in my frog box. I'm gonna fish with it, and I have no problem. I have no problem eating my words. I have no pride, but I'm never gonna stop calling frog for a gimmick. That's just hilarious. When I saw that in the box, I was just like, you've got to be freaking kidding me. Frog fur? You're actually calling it frog fur? Oh,
I don't think it helps at all.
Boom, boom, man. The old banjo minnow comes up all the time there, top kingers. Frog fur's hilarious, man, and that's my new deal. If it's a gimmick, I'm calling it frog fur.
Even if I don't think that helps it at all, but I think you're going to be surprised on just how good that frog is. I mean, I hope I am.
I hope I am. I mean,
nothing.
It seems fine. It seems like a perfectly fine frog from everything I can see. It's got owner hooks. It's got owner hooks. I love owner hooks. It's got that kind of unique little eye on the belly so that you can.
I don't know if that. I think that's more gimmicky.
Frog fur.
Frog fur.
But yeah, it's all good. It's all good. So Saturday night, that's what we did. We talked about frog fur, and that was a fast 2 hours, man. It went by super fast.
Yeah, it was like
it was fun, man. It was fun.
Okay, cool.
All right. Well, that's it. 10 o'clock, guys, or 11, depending upon where you're at in the world. Thanks for hopping on and joining us tonight. I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun. Maybe this helped as far as giving you a little more information about sponsorships and what you may or may not experience if you want to get in the sponsorship game. I hope it was helpful. And if you got any questions, feel free to. You can DM us, email us, that kind of stuff about things of that nature. We'd love to hear your comments. This is my TikTok. My Instagram's the same at Mr. Bass TV. I don't know what yours is, Steve. Is it all Get Your Fish On?
I don't know what it is either.
Yeah. Going back to promotion and making sure you promote your sponsors on your channels. That's important. It's important to give them some exposure as much as possible.
Dude, I appreciate it.
Go ahead and head over to Steve's channel. Get Your Fish On if you have not done so, and subscribe to his channel. We're excited to continue to bring you this content every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. And if you want another live stream show, mine is on Saturday nights at 8 o'clock. And Steve, you're not doing any on your own at the moment, are you?
You want to? I'm going to. There'll probably be 2 extra stuff this week on my channel. Major League Fishing is like literally 20 minutes from me. So I'm supposed to be having dinner with a couple people.
Okay.
So if I do, I'm probably not going to not do a podcast, but I think I'm just going to do some. I'm just going to go see the guys and just do some, interview stuff. So
cool.
That's the goal. Now,
right.
It doesn't mean that's going to happen.
Awesome.
I've got it.
That'd be fun. I'm sure that would be fun.
So yeah, thank you, man.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for hopping on. Have a good night. See you, Gary, Eric, Chris. Hope you guys have a good one. We will talk to you later. And we are ending in 3, 2, 1. Goodbye.